All right, welcome to the CanMonkey Podcast Show. And today I have a special guest, Tanya Rooney. I had met you several years ago at the Level Up Your Listing, and since then I had no idea who you were, but I've been able to find out who you are since then. And you are a wealth of knowledge, you are a star in this industry, and you also are so giving with your time, and you help other individuals. And from you, I found Wendy Doris, and I found all these other individuals that are just as awesome as you. But without further ado, I would love for you to talk about who you are, what you do, and how you help people, not just in our industry, but in whatever they're doing in their life. So, Tanya, please introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. My name is Tanya Rooney. I live in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. So I'm over in Minnesota and I do a lot of real estate stuff. That's probably the best way to put it because I am not a one size fits all person. I have short-term rentals here in the Twin Cities and I got into short-term rentals because I was flipping houses, and I got into flipping houses because I was a corporate real estate project manager that was just sick of listening to clients. Honestly, I was in some really big projects and I was just kind of sick of feeling like, holy crap, like I just feel like I'm getting punched in the gut a lot and I'm over it. So I ended up flipping houses and kind of realized like flipping wasn't necessarily for me if I wanted to keep a strong marriage, which I do. I love my marriage so much and I love it far more than flipping houses because I'd just get a little too jittery in the flipping process, and I'd bring that home and it's not my husband's fault that the plumber didn't show up or whatever the heck it was. So I opted to kind of like pivot into short-term rentals, and now I have a short-term rental business. I do that, I'd say only a quarter of the time because I have people that help me with a lot of that stuff, so I don't have to. So we have 4 properties there, and then I have a commercial real estate consulting business and where I do project management for big huge projects. We're building out like an 80,000 square foot space right now for a client, and then I help with like moves and changes and things like that. And then on top of all of that, I have a personal project management business. So it's like coaching, but also helping people just figure out what they need to do next and like keeping them accountable to actually doing it, kind of like piecing through what's their problem and how can we get over it. So that in a nutshell is what I spend most of my time on.
Well, I love it because I remember I watched you on social media, and you're kind of talking about your husband didn't want to be involved, but I saw a video of him doing like a whole bathroom remodel for you. So somewhat he's involved because
Oh, he's
I saw
involved heavily.
that was heavily, yeah, that tub was heavy. I don't know. And he was doing it in flip-flops, which I was very impressed. So when you
God, I forgot about the flip flops. So gosh, sometime I got so many messages about that, like how unsafe it was, and I'm like, I can't make him. I don't know what to do. Like I don't make him do anything. He just does what he wants.
Well, when you run your own business, you're HR too, so I guess you can tattle on you if you want, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's whoopsies.
So when you started, I didn't know that you started off with actual being real estate investing. So then the short-term rental kind of fall into it because you're looking for different like exit strategies, and you're like, hey, I can't buy and hold all of them. I don't want to sell all of them, so I'll try this other thing. Is that kind of how it happened, or were
Yeah,
you?
so we actually, yeah, I've won a, like, I'm definitely a real estate investor first. It's a big thing for me to find out so many short-term rental people think they're not a real estate investor. And I'm like, if you're co-hosting, I suppose, yes, you are not a real estate investor quite yet. If you have one, you're a real estate investor because that's the vehicle that's going to make you wealthy later on in life. So I do regret getting rid of a lot of flips. That's definitely something like they told me that was going to happen. And in hindsight, I'm there now that I'm like, shoot, I wish I would have gotten rid of like any of them. But we did have one house. Honestly, so like I said, I'm in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We have a house in St. Paul that we had just flipped. We had a smoking deal on it. We had to do a lot of work to it. And it was just kind of sitting there. We were getting some lowball offers. Well, it was right around when George Floyd happened. And that did really change a lot of things in this market for a little while. It wasn't in a really bad neighborhood. It wasn't anywhere near the George Floyd stuff, honestly. And I say that relatively because the Twin Cities are actually pretty small. You can get from one end to the other in, a half hour. But it was enough that there were things going on when we were trying to sell it. So I was talking to a buddy of mine that's also he's in short-term rentals. He's a flipper. He's a contractor. He's like, well, Tanya, why haven't you just went on your Airbnb it? I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what that means. He ran through the numbers with me, or he hopped on a call, told me all about it, and just like, okay. He's like, worst case scenario is you make this low end. Best case scenario is you make way more than this end. So we furnished it. That was in 2020, I think. And yeah, now I've had like we've had up to five. We just got rid of one more recently, but we like I've never looked back. Like it's the most fun thing, and it kind of like short-term rentals really do lend a hand to the way that I am. Like I really like community. I like communication. I like traveling. So it just kind of like it fits really well in the kind of personality I have. So I just hopped in, and now I still want to have lots of rentals, and lots being like 10. You really don't want to have more than 10. I have friends with hundreds or thousands of doors, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like something I'm interested in. But I would love to have 10 awesome solid ones, or, buy a duplex or a single family every single year to build my portfolio. Because really the end game is to have 10 houses paid off in the next 15, 20 years and not have to worry about, I don't know, regular things.
That's a great goal. When you started off, you said you were in like corporate, right? So obviously you're
Mhm.
not using your own money, but then when you started doing your own, are you using OPM, other people's money, or did you start with using your own? Did you go liquidate your 401k, or how did you buy your
Yeah.
first? And then are these now things that you help other people when they get started? They say, I don't know how. You kind of have these other ideas.
Yes. So the first flip we ever did, we did use some of our money and then we used hard money. I think people getting into real estate you have to consider hard money, and people, get like all flustered about, well, it's 10% or it's 15%. It's like, who cares? If you do the numbers and the numbers pan out, and even if you do conservative numbers and you're still going to make money, you're going to be fine. Like, it's okay to, not make a really, really big amount on the first one, because you're going to learn so much on that first one that now you can apply everywhere else. So just assume that, there's a $15,000 or $20,000 education that you're essentially paying for on that first one. So if you have to pay for hard money at 15%, if you're doing it right, you're going to have that house bought, flipped, sold within 6 months or less. So it's okay. And even if it takes a year, it's still okay. If it's going to take 5 to 10 years, it's not a flip. You're no longer it's not an investment strategy anymore. I used hard money on the first one, and now I use other people's money even for my short-term rentals. I am all about creative financing in any way, shape, or form. There's lots of versions to do it. I think it's cool when you start hanging out with people that do stuff like this, because you're going to get tactics that you didn't know existed. I think the cool part about real estate is there are rules, don't screw people over, don't take advantage of people. Like those are common things. Like you really should care about that. But other than that, you can make anything up. Say, yeah, I'll give you this much money, but I want this much of a payment. Maybe the house is only worth 300 and somebody wants 450. Well, if you can give them 450 and they'll hold the loan for 40 years instead of 30 years, and they'll hold it at this amount every single month, who cares if you're giving them 450,000, because they wanted 450,000 and you just wanted, a $500 a month payment. Well, you just do the math. So there's different ways to do stuff like that. I use other people's money a lot. And that just means, someone like Alex might have 401k sitting in a self-direct, okay? And he can't direct it to himself because he just bought this house and he really wants to flip it. Well, he is not allowed to direct a certain amount of it to his own company. He has to direct it somewhere else. So I've had people give us that kind of money. I've had people give us their savings account money. Some people just have $100,000 sitting there, and you won't ever know unless you tell people that you're looking for money. Ask people for money. I say, like, do you know anybody who's looking to put money into real estate or has money just sitting around? Because my gosh, a savings account is like the smallest amount of money. Like, people think it's so great when they get a percent on their savings account. And I'm like, wow, I pay like 8 to 12%. Like, and I don't necessarily say like, those numbers, like I'm weird. It's weird, or I'm hesitant to say those numbers, but truly that's what I end up paying in some cases. It's like, we can do minimums. We can do like, hey, one time this guy wanted to build a hunting stand, and it was like $800. Well, he lent me a certain amount of money, and then within about a year, like, I gave him that amount of money. So he essentially paid for that just by lending his money that was sitting there anyways, not doing anything or making 0.04% interest. So yeah, I love using other people's money. People talk to me about it all the time, and I'm just like, who cares if you don't have money? You can still do real estate. Like, I promise, people have done it with way less than I had.
That's a good point. I think a lot of people just don't understand. And so say someone's listening to this right now and they're like, okay, I'm on the fence about it. What comes first, chicken or egg? So it's like, do they need a property, or should they have like the money situation first? Like, so what, when you're talking to people and they're coming to you, they're like, hey, I really want this property, but I don't have no money. Or it's like, hey, I have money, but I have no property. Like, what is a good, like, what do you,
Yeah.
yeah.
I do get that question a lot. And I have a frustrating response to it. If you have a good enough property, the money will come. And I think people hate it when people say that, but it's true. If you have a good deal with the numbers, like if you're not confident in the numbers, then they're probably not good enough. This is another reason that hard money lenders are really good. If you have a good hard money lender, they're actually thinking about their investment. So if you are smart, you would go to them and shop the loan to them to find out if it's a good deal. Because if a hard money lender won't give you money, it's a bad deal, because they will give money. They're like they have a way higher risk tolerance. So they might see a bad deal and be like, whatever, I'll just foreclose on it. It's not that big of a deal. I'll get the house back anyways. But if they won't give you numbers, like you can find ones that you can trust that, do have actual underwriting processes and stuff. So you can do things like that. But if you find a property that's a good enough deal, you're going to be able to find the money, but you have to start honing the skills to asking for money. So like my advice to those kinds of people, and people are super uncomfortable with this, and that's pretty much your own hang up. You have to start posting about your journey on like social media. And if you don't use social media, then you would need to do it in real life. So you can choose the lesser of two evils, whatever you think. It's either going to family functions, friend functions, work functions, and talking about this thing that you're doing on the side, or it's posting on the internet to tell people I'm doing these things. And, here I am like underwriting a deal, and the reason people give me money is because I've talked about it, and they know that I at least am trying. I'm literally showing them, here I joined this mastermind, here I'm learning this kind of thing, here I'm underwriting this property, this is why I'm not doing this deal, this is why I am doing this deal, these are the problems I have in my business, like in my short-term rental business. That helps too, because they see I actually keep a really level head when a problem arises. Sometimes in real life, I don't, like in my normal everyday life, but in my business life, a problem comes and I am super calm, because what good is it to blow up and be like, oh my God, there's 2 inches of water in this bedroom and I have to figure out how to do this, and we have guests here already and this and this and this. That doesn't help anybody. So I think when you show up authentically in a way that you kind of are telling people what you're doing, people show up. When you say like, hey, we're looking for investors, do you know anybody who wants to invest in real estate? And they have it backed by something. Like when somebody gives you money, it's backed by real estate. They're not just giving you money as like a favor. Like there's paperwork that goes in it. They actually have like a right against this house. And so knowing those kinds of things, you kind of have to be building both of them. But if you find a good deal, you can find the money. But you do have to try, and it's going to depend on you as a person. How hard do you try? Because I like to tell people the question is, how many banks have you called? Well, if you've only called one bank or 2 banks and like, oh, no one will give me money. Well, yeah, no. Those 2 people won't give you money. But weirdly enough, America has thousands of banks. And if you haven't even called more than 5 banks to get money, then nobody's going to give you money. So it's the same with private investors. Like, how many people are you willing to call to make sure that that deal gets done? Like, I'm willing to do things when I have something under contract, because I just gave my word to somebody to buy this house. And, now it's my word against that. So it's, how many people are you willing to call? How many banks are you willing to call? How many posts are you willing to do? If you're not willing to do any of it, then don't even start, because you eventually have to do it. Otherwise, you'll never get anywhere.
And then when you're in the situation, does it matter what your end goal is? I mean, we're talking these. I'm sure it does. But like, if it's like, hey, I'm on a short-term rental this or long-term rental, like, does it matter? I'm sure like different numbers will play different games, but like long-term rental, I feel like that's a little bit more secure, because like what you're bringing in. And if you go to a lender and say, hey, I'm on a short-term rental this, it's kind of like you're guessing, right? So like, does it, when you're at it, are you always going STR? Or are you kind of balancing both of the different
Yeah,
segments?
so
You see what I'm saying?
well, yes, I totally do. You do have to have multiple exit strategies.
Okay.
Nobody knew, the easiest way to even talk about this is COVID. Like, nobody knew that was going to happen. All of a sudden,
True.
Commercial real estate was always a very consistent, relatively easy thing, in the fact that it's like, no, we have offices. People go into offices and they work there, and we're good to go. So go ahead and buy all these office buildings. They're awesome. Well, we're 5 years in, we're 5 years post-COVID at this point, and the office real estate has changed completely. So that's a really good example of having to pivot and have to have extra things in mind. And those people, people got foreclosed on, people went bankrupt, people have literally changed offices into living spaces. Truly, there's all kinds of different stuff that's happening, but knowing you have different exit strategies, even for a house, you need to have some kind of exit strategy. And the beauty is there is 7 different ways. Like you can rent by the room, you can Airbnb, you can midterm rent, you can long-term rent, you can put a business in there. Like there's truly different ways, but knowing what you want out of it is key. Like how long you want to hold it. Most people don't go into real estate being like, I don't know how long I want this, because maybe in 2 years you really won't want to do this anymore, and maybe in 10 years you're going to be like, okay, I need 10 more. So I think knowing that, and then knowing the financing portion, you do have to know if you go in just to flip, well, that money is short term for a reason. So now you have to decide if you're going to keep it. If you're going to sell it, cool, then you're going to be able to pay that off. If you're not going to sell it, how long can you keep that loan with that lender, whether it's private, hard money, or a bank, it doesn't matter. Like they're all options. But then knowing, do you need to refinance later? Do you need to raise money? Like I have private money on short-term rentals, and it's long-term, like private money. And I went into those conversations it not being long-term, or maybe the long-term was only 2 years, but maybe we're at 5 years now. So I think it's just checking in with people. Like once you start doing private money, you just have to have check-ins, and you just send them a message here and there and be like, hey, is everything okay? Do you need money? Or do you need your money back? Some people just want it to sit there and it's just growing. And some people we pay every single month, and some people we don't. We pay quarterly or we don't pay at all. And they just when they cash it out, they gave us 40 and they're going to get 60 when we're done, whatever it may be. So I think that's the beauty of all of this, is there's so much flexibility, but being transparent is really important, like telling people what's going on, and then, being authentic when it comes back. Like if somebody wants money back, I'm like, totally cool. Like I had somebody that had money with us and they were getting a divorce, so they needed all the money back. So just like, okay, let's make it happen. So knowing that you're going to have to do that and pivot and all of those things, like real estate and business ownership in general is not for the faint of heart. You have to learn things. Like you have to learn to pivot, because this business just isn't black and white. If you're a black and white person, it might be better for you to be in somebody's business and maybe not on the top of the business, because there's just a lot of things that you can't make up some of the stuff. I know you know this exactly, Alex. It's like you can't make up some of the stuff that lands in our desk. We're just like, what? Yeah. What are you talking about? This happened or this happened. You can't guess the shit that comes up. So it's better not to. So if you're black and white and you can't handle that, then it's not for you.
I agree. Next question was going to be, one of the biggest misconceptions, because I feel like with you, people are coming to you because you're an expert at this. And so a lot of these people are coming to you because they don't know where to start. When they meet you in the beginning and they are kind of, worried or not sure where to start, and then after you kind of take their hand and help them, what's the biggest misconception that they have? One thing you just said is they're kind of a business owner now. That's something that I wouldn't really think about at first. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be a passive investor. I'm going to do this. What's one of the biggest misconceptions that when someone comes in that you grab their hand and help them invest, and now they're in there? Holy crap, either it could be that wasn't as scary, or there's a lot more work, or maybe all the above. But what's one of the biggest things that you see when you're helping people kind of get into this world?
I think you find out the kind of human that you are. And that's kind of a weird answer, but at the same time, because you're right. You just said 3 different versions of people, and all of those people come across. I come across that all the time. There's a lot of people who have a ton of excuses, and you just have to decide which excuses are more valid than others, because some people do get into this. I had one gal, oh, she's so sweet. They really wanted to get into short-term, or investing. They wanted to flip houses. They bought a flip. And they were doing a lot of the flip themselves, and it wasn't in the best neighborhood, and there were gunshots that went through the walls, truly, I'm pretty sure her husband was in the kitchen and it happened in the dining room, and truly all of a sudden a gun, 3 holes came through the house. And, they were like, okay, we're selling this. Let's get out as fast as possible. They had a very specific version happen to them. And that could be I believe in the universe and that there's a path that happens. And that could be, it wasn't the right time for them. In 6 months or 2 years or 10 years, maybe they're going to get back into it and be into it. And then there's people who are just they are so excited. Like I see people who flip houses that are so good at it. I love knowing those people because those are the ones that I call when I'm just like, hey, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? There are people that are just naturally really, really good at that. It doesn't feel heavy. Finding contractors is great, but they're just, it's aligned for them. So I think one of the things when you show up in a business like this or any business, you are going to find out the kind of person that you are and the kind of things you have to overcome. And you're either going to quit and go back to a job, which is completely fine. We need people to have jobs. Like me and Alex need people to work for us. We cannot do all of the things. And then there's the people that are going to rise up and be like, holy crap, like I'm pretty good at pivoting. I'm going to figure all of this stuff out. So I think you will always find out what kind of human you are. And then depending on who you surround yourself, if you keep going, because if you're still just like on an island by yourself trying to do this and don't have any peers that are doing this, like it doesn't mean that you have to have employed, like you're not going to talk about your business stuff to your employees. You shouldn't anyways. Like some of it you should because they're on your team, but you definitely should not do that. You need to find other people that own those kinds of businesses and then not just commiserate, like you figure out best practices, you figure out like how they're doing it, and you just feel less alone that it's like, oh, this person just did this thing to me. And then you find out it's happened like to all these people. Or, hey, my taxes aren't in on time. By the way, my taxes are never in on time. Like we file in October. We do not file in like April, like normal other people. But if you're the only person that you know who does that, then weirdly you feel like a failure. But if you surround yourself with 10 other business owners and find out most people that are in certain kinds of business file in October, then you're normal. Like it's fine. So I think that was a really long roundabout way to say you'll find out the kind of human you are because there isn't like a normal. Some people are really good at things. Some people are bad at things. It's not that big of a deal, but you do have to find, or you should find what you want to spend your time on and what could get you free to do that. Because my short-term rentals get me free so that I can go travel and do all kinds of things because I don't have to be here. And my consulting business gives me enough money to be able to pay for all the travel and, stuff like that.
No, I think that's a great segue because to your point was that you need to have someone that kind of has already been there before. It's like, there's a hallway with 3 doors to the left and 3 doors to the right, and you just need someone to say, hey, Alex, skip those 3 doors to the left, just go to the last one on the right, and you're saving all that time and energy. So if someone now is listening to this and say, you know what, I need someone like Tanya in my life that has done it and know the hallways and know the doors, how do people find you? How do they reach out to you? Where do they go and see your stories of what you do and maybe get more encouraged so maybe they can take their first leap of faith or at least go to you and raise their hand. So how do people find you? What are your social medias and go from there?
Yeah, so I hang out on Instagram a lot. I was very active for a while and I stopped for a little while and, I'm working through what that looks like to be active again. But it's Tanya Rooney MN and my first name is Tanya and Rooney MN for Minnesota because whoever owns Tanya Rooney will not message me back and I don't think she uses that account. So if you happen to know the person that is just normal Tanya Rooney on Instagram, I'm determined to say this on all kinds of podcasts because I am going to find that person one day and I'm going to pay her money to give me that link so that it can just be Tanya Rooney. Anyways, and then I'm on Facebook as Tanya Rooney as well. You'll probably, if you're in any kind of form of like circles with Alex or with real estate people, I'll probably pop up with at least 1 or 2 like or mutual friends. And then I have a website too. It's just tanyarooney.com. I do have coaching on there. I am launching some new things where people can hang out with me, like in some kind of Facebook group at some point. And then I'm doing personal project management. If you're stuck on anything, I'm doing 6-week sprints with people of like, what's your problem? How can we get it? Like if you want to buy your first house, like it's about making offers. So how can we get you to make offers every single day, every single week, whatever it may be? So if you're having problems with any of that stuff and would love some help, like I am an extreme accountability weirdo that would love to like help you do that. And if you want to quit your job, those are my favorite people. Like I love getting to tell people, like I like getting to reach out to people and be like, oh my God, your quit date is coming up. Like, how's it going? And then get to celebrate with people that they quit their corporate job because that is a pretty big milestone and awesome. So that's how you would find me, tanyarooney.com or on Instagram.
I love it. You'd be the perfect person to hold someone's hand through some of the biggest, this could be the scariest moment in someone's life. I mean, buying a home as an actual homeowner is some of the biggest purchases. So I couldn't imagine now doing it on the side as an investment and risking your personal savings and all these things that look scary. But if you have someone like yourself that says, hey, it's not that scary, it's actually normal.
No,
like you said,
no.
hey, file taxes in October, it's okay, people can do it. You just need someone like that that just can show you that it's not so scary. Someone else has done it before and you'll survive.
Yeah.
Tanya, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your nuggets with our audience. I hope that people who hear this now have someone that they can go to, a light of knowledge. And again, thank you so much for just being an advocate for CanMonkey and being a longtime client and just a personal friend. Really appreciate you, and wish you the best and hope to see you soon at the next conference.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Alex. Bye, guys.
Thanks. Bye.